This is ouRAGEiosITY 5, and this concerns standing in Roppongi in front of Mori Tower in Tokyo, or standing in front of the Novartis building in Roppongi, or standing in front of any of the major corporation buildings, Mitsubishi Shoji building, what have you. And watching the people who go into these buildings. And then reading and looking at all the printed matter and media matter that comes out from these buildings. And the output is all about change and new technology and innovation and adaptation and reconfiguration and re-engineering and rebuilding and adapting and evolution. And you would think that these companies are seething, twisted, turbulent flows of change. And then you look at the input, the human inputs going into the building and in the morning and coming out at night. And it's these gray zombie hordes of people who think alike and look alike. And there are several hypotheses you could get from this gap. One of them is that these organizations are geniuses at taking uniform zombie inputs and getting variegated, diverse, interesting, creative outputs from it. That they really are innovation factories and creative furnaces, spewing out difference from sameness. Or you could have the opposite hypothesis, that all of that advertising, media presence, and publication stuff is a cover story hiding the fact that they output gray zombie hordes as well as input them. Now, the genius of modern businesses is these global systems that produce a working refrigerator of the same basic functionality in India and Brazil and America and Greenland, everywhere in the world. So the genius is not in the people, because there are very few geniuses, probably none, working for these big corporations. And there's certainly no geniuses stealing at the top in terms of their leadership, mostly a set of thieves. So the genius is in the system itself, which takes various market conditions, variable human inputs, and turns them into gray standard zombie hordes as human outputs, and to refrigerators you can rely on around the world to have the same functionality. So these are the genius in these processes, these systems, is taking diverse inputs and turning out human uniform zombie hordes around the world, and products, reliable standard products around the world. They are difference eliminators rather than difference heighteners. They take variable inputs and they generate reliable standard global outputs. And there's genius in that. And if you think it's easy, then you really underestimate the accumulated knowledge in these processes they have. It's really helpful, these National Geographic cable TV programs showing how very simple things like soft drinks are manufactured, and they don't reveal the statistics and the layers of total quality improvement that have refined out every little iota of waste from these processes, so that they really are generating very, very uniform outputs from various kinds of inputs around the world. So that's their genius. The outrageous thing is the gap between the image and the publications and the media presence, which is almost the exact opposite of the reality. The reality is that they input variegated people and countries and climate and market conditions around the world, and they generate heroically standard, consistent, reliable outputs. And they are difference eliminators. They are the opposite of creativity and innovation. And but they want to present themselves to you as creative and innovative because there's this human accommodation phenomena in the brain, so that If we liked what we drank yesterday, we will like it less today and even less tomorrow, and probably not drink it at all 3 days from now, because we accommodate to it. And what pleased us greatly yesterday doesn't please us great 3 days later when repeated. This accommodation means that they have to somehow convince us that it's new. The one we give you Thursday is different than the one you got 4 days ago on Monday. And so they constantly use the novelty and creativity and innovation noise that they generate as a way to sell you that something's different, buy it again. But the reality is really quite different. And you have to understand how the brain modules work and how businesses are forced to sell the brains, and they optimize themselves just as much around brain modules as they optimize their products around water conditions when they're making soft drinks, for example. And so we shouldn't be surprised by this. This is outrageosity 5. Expecting zombie horde, anything other than zombie horde people outputs and zombie horde product outputs from organizations that generate huge amounts of the more they talk about innovation, the more they talk about it, fund it, splurge on it, and then mention it and print it, the less they actually do.